Hey, this is Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star, and you are tuned into Connection. Wow, folks, I am so happy to be here. Glad you have joined us. I've got a great guest today, and I can't wait to actually start the interview process with him so you guys can get to know him. He's got some great stuff going on, great book that we definitely want to get deep down into. But wouldn't be what wouldn't do what I do if I didn't actually just, hey, let's there's a lot to talk about right now, right? So we know we had two debates in the last couple of days, and some people that really surprised folk. I think, well, some folk anyway. I mean, we had, I think, Biden show his true self. A lot of his history prior to Barack Obama and being the vice president came out. So hopefully people were aware of that, saw some of that. Somebody who actually surprised, I think, a lot of us, including myself, is Kamala Harris. I think, she really handled herself, a lot of the questions very well. She put a lot of people and their history on kind of blast on the things that didn't make sense. So that was good, right? So a lot of folk. I'm not saying who I'm voting for. I'm not getting into all that, and I'm not really trying to tell anybody else to who to vote for or anything like that. But good that they had a good debate. Glad to see that. Hope they have several more so we can narrow this pack down to someone truly worthy of the position of presidency. So that is that, right? What else is going on? So we also, uh, man, I've been talking about reparations for the last couple of shows. A lot of things coming up, heated up, a lot of good conversations. Just had some things happen. Coach was on the Hill along with Danny Glover on the Hill, kind of really talking about reparations. They put out a profound argument on the case. We have Mitch McConnell, who sounded like an idiot and a racist, was saying that African Americans were given reparations when we elected Barack Obama. I mean, man, just totally disrespectful. These are the people who are in elected positions, and they make these types of conversations. We need to put them on task. We need to get him out of office. We need to get those like him, of those like-minded like him, out of those positions. This cannot continue to move forward. We actually have someone who would say that in 2019, a senator and a long-term senator that's real. That's that on that piece. Yo, folks. So as well, I want to really get into this week's show, but let me read. I didn't do a blog for June as of yet. Like I told you guys last episode, we actually had started off a little late uh, as far as writing the May blog. So I didn't release the May blog until very late, and so I want to actually go back a bit. There's one that I think is really fitting for today's show because what Glenny, or my guest, is going to bring to the table, I believe, right, is kind of in tune or along the lines of what I'm looking at. So I'm going back a little bit. But favorite one of my favorite blogs that I wrote, um, and I read this recently at a friend's wedding. I was inspired by this blog by, I don't know if you guys have ever read Og Mandino's book, but uh, from one author to another author today, Og Mandino, or some very powerful book, the best salesman in the world. Very short read, but very powerful. I've actually had my children read it. Very, very, very powerful book. And I was inspired by that book to write this blog. So this blog is a blog I wrote back in December of 2016. So you can go back to that, go to GaryRockman.com on the blog section. And the name of it is Today. The name of it is Today. So I'll read this, and then I want to bring on the main person that we want. So today I woke up with a brand new optimism on life. It is full of never discovered, never experienced opportunities. I can achieve a deeper connection with my wife and my children. I can connect, I can correct a failure of yesterday and even achieve my greatest accomplishment to date. Today I can build the foundation to my best health. Today I can witness the most significant life-changing event of my time. Today, I woke up with a brand new optimism on life. I have an opportunity to reflect on the greatness of my ancestors and to see myself in them. Today, I get to share a lesson I learned from my loved ones. I get the blessing of seeing a smiling face or hearing a funny story. Today, I get a chance to laugh, and I mean to laugh like I have never laughed before. I get to see another sunshine and to hear another bird sing. Today, I woke up with a brand new optimism on life. I get the chance to lift a spirit. I get the opportunity to feed a hungry stomach or to shelter a person with no home. Today, I get the chance to shine a light on injustice. I get a chance to make a stand for something important. I get the opportunity to be the change I want to see. Today, I woke up with a brand new optimism on life. So I am not concerned with what happened yesterday. It is buried with all of the disappointment and with all of its glory. Today's opportunities are the best I have had. It's even better than tomorrow because only today matters. Only what I do today can change how my tomorrow will be birthed. In closing, in the words of Og Mandino, I will live this day as if it is my last, and if it is not, I shall fall to my knees and give thanks. So that is blog I wrote, like I said, called Today. It is, I think, fitting for today's show with my man Glenny Moore. Glenny, welcome to Connection, brother.
Man, you just preached to my soul, man. I appreciate that blog because today is a wonderful day. It's a start. Yesterday and tomorrow will take care of themselves, but today I can make a difference. And I'm
Absolutely.
happy for the things that you're doing, brother.
Hey, bro, appreciate it, man. I just wanted to be, how do you do it? Be a mirror, right? Be a mirror of other soldiers like yourself out here, actually real men doing real work in their communities, great husbands, great fathers, and just, and even extended fathers, right? Because we're not, I was sharing, a lot of times when it comes to Mother's Day, we see a woman or a young woman, and we just automatically say Happy Mother's Day. And there's
Uh-huh.
no question on if they have a child or not, right? And when it comes Father's Day, it's almost like we have to ask. It's like this: do you have children? Well, if you're a father, Father's Happy Father's Day to you. And I'm like, man, you're a father to somebody. If you're a mentor, if you're an uncle, if you're a brother, what I'm saying you've probably been fathering someone. You've been in education,
Hmm.
so you've been fathering plenty of folks' kids all the time. So yes, it is. I feel fortunate and honored to have another brother doing great work and just being the man that we are. We want to be the examples that we want to be. So yeah, brother, welcome to Connection and all that you're doing with yours.
And that's great that you are spotlighting the men because I believe, in my opinion, it starts with the men. And as you said, we are mirrors. So I'm a reflection. My children are watching me. My wife is watching me. Again, I'm in the education system. So other children in the community are watching me, brother. So I really appreciate this platform you're giving to men because we need to be seen.
Absolutely, 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 brother. So yeah, man, I want to get right into it, bro. So I know that you wrote a great new book
Mhm.
called the spiritual selfies, and I think the subtitle is snapshots from the inside out. But before we even go into the book, it is tradition because I want my audience to connect with Glenny Moore before he was a world renowned author or educator or the football star or any of that. I
Mhm.
want people to connect with who you are. So please share your story.
Well, once again, today I am a new author, Glenny Moore, but I have in history, and I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Um, I pretty much stayed in the same neighborhood, the Northwood area, and I went on to Mervo High School. I was a student athlete there, then went on to Morgan State University. I was offered a football scholarship, and my life changed then, man. It was a culture shock hitting that campus. I was just opened up to the world once I stepped on the campus of Morgan State, a black university, and I'm just so proud of that. Then moving on, man, just working with kids. I've been working with kids since I was 14 years old, and I can't get away. Even when I try to get away from them, I can't get away from them. So I have a background in working with kids, and to start off, I'm a family man. I have a wife, a wonderful wife. I have 3 children. In fact, Gary, I'm on another level. I have 4 grandkids and
Wow.
four girls, man, that I'm responsible for. So that mirror you're talking about is important. So again, I'm in the school system, man, and been doing that for about 18 years now. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited about this new venture that all of that I just named is invested in this life work in my new book, hashtag spiritual selfies, snapshots from the inside out.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. So yeah, brother. So man, I know you got plenty of things we can talk about just from growing up here in Baltimore, uh, and that whole piece. So let's deb into it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the book really was inspired. What inspired you to write this piece of work?
Well, first, the concept again is called hashtag spiritual selfies. So I didn't want to disrespect the times that we live in, even though there may be a lot of struggles and challenges in this day and age. We're still living in it. So we have to maneuver, face these daily challenges. And I wanted to inspire what's going on today. So the hashtag represents the days and times that we live in. Then we get to the spiritual part of the title. I'm digging in deep, man. I'm looking through the mirrors and the eye lenses of the Lord. Man, how does He see us? Are we making an impact? Are we making a difference? So I want to go on a deeper level beyond myself. And then selfies. We all know the phenomenon of taking selfies, but we're taking selfies of the external, our best moments with our best friends and the best scenery. But how many of us are taking snapshots from the inside out, our character? And that's what I deal with in the book, just encouraging and inspire. I know I need something bigger than me. I'm limited. So I
Mhm.
count on a higher power to improve my character. And I started with me and then to others to inspire and encourage others. So I'm excited about the book, hashtag spiritual selfies. You could get it online today on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and iTunes. And I just want to spread it across the world. When I wrote this book, I didn't want to just um, expose it locally. I
Mhm.
wanted people all around the world to be exposed. And it talks about the things that you're about, Gary: family, men. All those things are invested in this book. So I'm excited, brother.
That's great. That's great. So tell me this, man. So Glenny Moore is growing up in Baltimore City, right here, uh, and he's. What are you seeing as a child? What's keeping you guiding in the right direction? You're 14. You start, like you said, you start working with children at 14. But what's keeping you on track?
What kept me on track first, I dedicated this book to my dad. He's no longer with us, but I dedicated the book to my dad because he stood the test of times, man, and did it with integrity.
What's
Um,
what's your dad's name? Let's say his name so he's with us today.
Glenny Moore as well. Glenny
Glenn.
Moore. And for one, he remained married to my mother for over 50 years. So I saw that model
Mhm.
of a couple working together, making a difference in family, which you are big on, Gary. And then um, first seeing him in the community, always touching other people, which all my friends and peers look at my dad as a dad. And
Mhm.
seeing that, I wanted to mirror that. I want to be explicit with you, Gary. I had a son, my son Glenny Moore Jr. at a young age, man. I had my son at 18. And of course, I was immature. I knew how to, I knew about family, but it still takes a little more than to be a father. And
Yes.
that was struggle for me. And my father stepped in, man. And I'm just grateful for that, for having him, the first man that I've seen, the first man that I lived with, be an inspiration to me. And that's what I wanted to be to the community. So when I walk around, I want kids to know my name. And that's also one thing that's missing, community.
Right.
People don't come outside no more, man. People don't
Right.
just sit on the steps anymore. And that's what I'm used to. And I think we need to bring that back. And Gary, I think, again, it starts with men. We
Mhm.
need to step up, and be what we're called to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm glad for Glenny Moore, your dad, as well, bro. So yeah, so he was your first teacher in that, and
Mm,
teaching you about manhood. I know that losing a parent, I've lost a parent. My mom passed
mhm,
like really 2 days after Callie and I's daughter was born. So I
mhm,
know that piece, but again, saying their name and living, it keeps their legacy going as well. And you are a shining example of your father. So you should be proud of that. You know that he's in here with you. He's writing that book with you, the whole nine. So that's a blessing, brother. I'm glad to acknowledge him today as well. So you have him as an example.
mhm.
You're how do you get into teaching kids at or really working with kids at 14?
Well, again, one thing that we had in the community when I was coming up in the early 80s, we have recreation centers.
Hmm.
How about, have you guys heard of that? Recreation centers. We were able to go there after school. We were even able to spend our evenings there, play basketball, football, learn to socialize. We don't have that the way we used to have it. So uh, I started off young as a volunteer, 14 years old, and helping with the younger kids in the camp and in the recreation center. And then when I moved on to high school, it kind of just stuck with me. I worked there during the summer, and I just had a knack for kids. And then as I got older, I thought I was going to get away from kids and do something else in life. But for some reason, I'll have a bunch of kids in front of me, man. So I went on and filled out an application at the Baltimore City Public School System. And I've been doing it for about 18 years. I've taught, check this out, guy. I've taught, uh, started off in pre-K with the little kids grabbing on my knees. Probably at the time didn't know the impression I was making.
Hmm.
But just all those instincts that my father taught me and my mother taught me came in hand and being in that classroom. So I've taught pre-K all the way up to 8th grade, then on to middle school, and presently I'm in a high school setting, brother, a high
Hmm.
school setting. So I see the generation we have today, and I just want to make an impression on them, man. But it's a lot of humility with it, man, because it is a challenge. And I
Hmm.
think the community know it is a challenge. But it takes brothers like you, brothers like me, to stand so we won't fall for anything. So I'm
Hmm.
inspired, brother.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, so I'm sure your work in the school systems and what you've seen has been infused in your book. You got a copy of your book right there. Let's raise that book up.
Yes, sir. Hashtag
So,
spiritual selfies. And it's up to us to fill in those selfies. If you see the whole concept of taking selfies, but we're taking it from the inside out. The whole theme of the book comes from the scriptures. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So I want to invest in, at the word you use, infuse my lifestyle, people watching me, kids watching me. I want them to see me from the inside out. I
mhm,
don't want them to see that I have the best clothes on or the best haircut. I want to say, hi, how you doing? I want to get to know them. I want to build a relationship. So within the words, lines, and stanzas of this book, man, it's just crafty poems and devotions that
mhm,
have harmony. It's entertaining, but at the same time, it hold out us accountable,
mhm,
and making differences in the community. And again, at home, starting with home, in the community, at our jobs, and just having integrity, man. So the book, again, is filled with poems and devotions that will encourage you. every day. It deals with life issues such as forgiveness, marriage, and love. That's a big one, man. And I'm just encouraged. So,
Yeah.
I have the book here now, Gary, and I know you may have a question, but just to give you a small taste of what's going on in the book.
Yeah. Please read us something.
Yeah, because at times, man, as life goes on, man, I have a poem called "Questioning the Love I Give." So at times, I know I'm not hitting the mark, man. I fail, and sometimes I'm distracted, and sometimes I question my love. So I'm just going to read a small piece from the poem inside the book of hashtag spiritual selfies. Questioning the love I give. Godly love is a decision that's spiritually covered. Its compassion and righteousness seek the well being of others. Love is beyond any feeling as I pursue it. More importantly, it's commanded by the Lord to do it. Love is totally different than liking. It's not about what I get from it that's exciting. If there's no love, there's no light. I'm called to give love with the purpose to recycle. So it
Mm.
goes on. I'm doing this not just for my direct people in front of me. I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing it for my grandchildren. And even if things not working out within those dynamics, for me to keep pressing on, showing love. That's what's expected of me as a man. And if other people see it, and if other boys see it, and little girls see it, we can recycle that love.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that's in the book. It holds me accountable. Sometime when I'm not doing right, I'll think of one of the poems in my book and I'll go to it. So that's why it's important to invest in your spiritual health and pick up this book.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag spiritual selfies.
Got a question on that, man. So, because you raise a good point of even how we express our love.
Mhm,
And I know that you have, like you said, you have sons, and you have a son and you have daughters.
mhm,
Um, I've shared even with my son
mhm,
that I love both of my children.
mhm.
If you say equally, right?
Right.
But I love them quite differently,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And sometimes I think my son sometimes struggle with the way I express my love to him
mhm,
because he's still young and still like man I'm a little it's a little bit harder
mhm.
around some of the edges. It's not as smooth, right?
Right.
uh, but I've shared with them in that conversation that I have a different responsibility in
Mhm,
how I love him
mhm.
than how I love my daughter. So can you with what you just shared kind of expound upon that as well?
Well, let me be clear. I have three children. I have a son that's 31, a daughter that's 27, and a daughter that's 16. I have three different generations. So it's not just a male female issue. I have generation differences as well. And then once again, I have four granddaughters. So I'm on every level of showing, as you said, Gary, different types of love. With my son, um, I struggled again having him at an early age. I struggled with probably providing the love that was required of him at the time. And my father somewhat covered that for me and covering my back and helping me do that. But I know my son always looked at my character. How did I respond to people? How did I respond to my mother? How do I respond to my wife? That's the way I show my son love, by modeling to him how to do it. Now, with my daughter, it may be a little different. With my daughter, I make sure I protect her. I'm doing this to protect you. You may not like it. And I told you, Gary, I got a 16-year-old. So,
Right.
they can be creative in their attitude. So, a lot of times I have to address that, regardless of her attitude, to protect her, to know daddy got your back. And this is how it looked, showing her how a man should take care of a woman. And that's hands on. So, I got to live it. And the way to do that, not just me loving her, but how I'm responding to her mother. That's key. And so it's a big responsibility. Has it been perfect, Gary? It sure hasn't, man. It has not been perfect. And over the years, I've been taking spiritual selfies all my life to correct where I may have failed. But that's why I wrote this book as a spiritual tool to remind us, Gary. Sometimes we need to be reminded.
Right.
What you're doing right now with this platform and this internet show is causing me to understand that I have a responsibility. You are exposing brothers like me for me to check myself, for me to get it right. It's important, man. It's
Yeah,
important.
appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, so man, so let's talk about, man. Let's read some more of
Oh,
those
yeah.
reflections, bro.
Well, let me be very clear with you. It's two part. I designed this book myself. And as you see the
Mhm.
cell phone picture, it has devotions inside of the cell phone. So I'm gonna read one of just the devotion. So this is the daily, the first one, the first spiritual selfie, which is a devotion. God is the beginning to the end. I realize He doesn't exist for me. I exist for Him. So the
Mhm.
Lord expect me to make differences in the world. I'll read another one, Gary. Here's another devotion in which I call spiritual selfie. And here's a deep one, brother. Here's a deep one. Forgiveness doesn't excuse an offender's actions apart. Forgiveness stops their actions from destroying my heart. So
Mm.
these are impactful things that encourage us on a daily basis, man. And I've been, sharing with people. This is not you just invested in Glenny Moore, the book sales. My responsibility is way bigger than that. This is spiritual wealth for all of us, for us to remind ourselves. So what I'm gonna do, Gary, we talked about the whole idea of forgiveness. So I'm gonna go to a poem called about forgiveness. Just
Mhm.
gonna read a piece of it, Gary. It's called "Forgive for Peace Sake." Forgive for peace sake. I hate this person with a passion. You don't mind me getting explicit, do you, Gary?
Please, you gotta listen to the show more often.
I hate this person with a passion. I remained busy just to get past it. I thought I had peace, but the Lord saw different. I removed my offender, but my soul angrily remembers. Family and friends suggested I move forward by forgiving. The pain appears resolved, but on the inside, I relive it. I was so angry at this person who walked away with those offenses. It appeared as if everyone is supportive of their wrongful defenses. Lord, I struggle to understand this gesture. This person appeared exonerated while I felt all the pressure. I've even committed to being cordial in their presence, wisely for my own good, but mainly for their protection. Meanwhile, Gary, I continually ask for forgiveness as his elected, yet I refuse to forgive despite being biblically corrected. Therefore, Gary, I chose to forgive to avoid eventually falling apart. The offense is unexcused, but no longer will they destroy my heart. So that responsibility of forgiveness, when you
Mm.
pick up this book, hashtag spiritual selfie, it may be crafty with the words. The words may be in harmony and rhyme. It may even entertain. But once you finish that poem, it's going to hold you accountable. So
Mm.
that's what the book is about, man. That's
Yeah,
what it's
yeah.
about.
That sounds right on time too, brother. Because I mean, so many of us right now, right? We need to heal. We need to heal inside. We're holding a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness towards the system or our parents or communities or whatever the case may be. So
Mhm.
that lands quite well in this time.
Amen. Yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm excited, man. And just the whole idea of marriage, man. That's another big one, man. If it's one question that I get when I'm walking in the community or on the streets or at different venues, the marriage question come up, man. And there's a lot of people that are unhappy. There's a lot of people that's not inspired. And there's a lot of kids watching where the family is not appealing as it once was. So the whole dynamic of family is messed up, man. So what I did, I went into writing a poem about marriage. Is it okay if I share just a little bit of this?
Please, and share too. Share your wife's name and how long you guys been married, man.
Wow, man, my wife name is Tasha Moore. We've been married for 17 years now, and man, when we started our marriage 17 years ago, man, it was a mess. It's okay for me to be transparent, right?
Absolutely, this is
Okay,
action, baby.
man, our marriage started off a mess, man. And but the good Lord showed us grace and mercy and got us through. Um, but there's so many things that we've learned from. And one of the things is forgiveness. And that we had to deal with each other's our own issues before we even got together to deal with our issues together. So what inspired me again is this poem. It's called Marriage is Ministry. Ministry starts early in the morning. Serving my spouse is very important. I invite the Lord to enable me accordingly and showing my heart and mind is flexible and warming. Whether I'm up to it or not, gestures and words count. God's word must flow in me before they come out. Seeking for discernment for the necessary provisions, adhering to the Holy Spirit while positioning to listen. My awareness allows me to stay in tune. It eliminates a disconnect while giving Satan room. My prayers rebuke the notion of negative consumptions, prioritizing the Lord's instructions for spiritual adjustments. Check it out. I'm going to get a little deep for you, Gary. Investing with encouragement, caressing, and intimacy, constantly kissing, supporting, prayer, and listening. Therefore, as we wake up in the morning to start the day, by choice, the flesh was defeated because we did it God's way. And I believe the Lord had his hand in our marriage, man. But, you know, I looked at my kids, man. I looked at my kids. I said, they need to see us unite. And marriages are hard. The whole idea of marriage is a struggle. Yet we don't look past the marriage. That's the issue. A lot of it is our hearts. Do we really check our character in the marriage? How are we managing our spouse? Things like that. Gary, real quick, and I know we don't have much time.
Yeah, we got time, brother. We got time.
Here are some of the devotions about marriage, man. The spiritual selfies, just the little things that you might wake up to before you go to work. Here's a spiritual selfie here. It says, I purpose to woo my spouse beyond the physical in sight. In fact, I need to say I love you more and not just that night. So that's encouraging to me. So I can't just tell my wife I love her because I want some sex.
Right.
I can't tell my wife I love her when I want something. She need to hear that I love her frequently. That's my responsibility as a man. And then, Gary, to recycle it, my kids need to see me say I love you and also show her that I love her.
That's right.
Then we go into another one. It's my duty to praise my spouse passionately, not just privately, but lovingly, publicly.
That's
so
right.
That gesture shouldn't be just behind closed doors.
Teach on that.
Yeah, it should be out in the community. It should be at a restaurant. It should be at a car wash. That everyone knows that that's my wife. If she knows that and she see me managing her in a way of love, that's important, man.
Absolutely.
That's family. That's community. That's God, man. So I'm just grateful, man, to even have a wife, because my background and my history, you wouldn't believe that I'm married today. I'm sure some of my college friends like, how did he get married? So that's God's grace, man.
Yeah, we grow up too, bro. You know, we grow up.
Yeah, we grow up, man. So I'm just grateful, man, of that maturation to make a difference, man. So we're still learning, man.
Well, what I'm super impressed with, I don't have the book yet, but trust and believe, I'm ordering that bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm really impressed with is how many poems and just, you know, that you were able to come up with. I mean, that book is not like a thin book. It's a nice size book.
Yeah.
And to that shows, man, a lot of not just creativity, but you were inspired, bro. I mean, that's like, you know what I'm saying? That's a true inspirational book there.
And that's unique that you saw that, Gary, because when I first wrote the book, my publishing company said the same thing, almost 300 pages. So you're getting a quality package in this book. And it has over 100 selfies in it, devotional selfies, and over 60 poems dealing with issues. Let me tell you one thing that also led to the content of the book, Gary. My wife, especially early on in our marriage, and she doesn't mind me sharing this because we talked about this. She knew I would be on radio shows and stuff like that. So she didn't mind me sharing the testimony. my wife was dealing with some anger issues, man. And I could tell that it was beyond me that can help her at the time. I could tell that it required divine support, man. And I just sat back and watched because I knew it wasn't really nothing I could do. And I just start putting a pen to the pad and writing these issues out, whether it was her anger, whether it was my issues. And that's what kind of started the poems, man. Intense involvement with dynamics that sometimes we don't know what to do, man, and how to respond to it. And my wife, again, was dealing with some issues at the time, and she was crying. She didn't know how to manage it. And as a husband, we want to protect. We want to make sure our wives are okay. And it was just, she had to go through, man. So I just wrote the testimonies down, man. And I have pretty much a whole chapter in here about anger. And that comes from my wife, man. And I thank her for even allowing me to share that testimony, because she's not the only one dealing with anger, whether we want to admit it or not. So I'm going to just share with you real quick, guy. I got a poem in here about anger. I got about 4 or 5 of them. Nigel, can you clear this out? Okay. The whole idea, again, Spiritual Selfies, you can get at Barnes and Nobles online. You can go to Amazon. You can go to iTunes and purchase the book, but it's available. But the whole idea of anger, man, it's a strong thing that, and it lends to the whole idea of mental illness, Gary. I don't know if you had a show on mental illness. That's a big deal there.
Yeah. Actually, my mom suffered from depression. My brother has suffered severely from depression all his life. And in my book, Back from Hell and the Devil Didn't Win, I talk about the struggles with with mental illness as well. So that's good. That's good. A lot of what we're dealing with, man, is derived from us not being stable mentally.
That's right. And anger is a big thing, man. Check this out. Addressing my anger, Gary. Check this out. Sleeping with anger. This permits the possibility of various dangers. I am consumed with unresolved factors, considering my feelings rather than the master's. Unwilling to address what bothers me, allowing anger to fester and haunt me, granting authority to my enemies, disowning righteous potential and godly identity, harboring an unwanted vengeance. An untreated scar creates spiritual blemishes. Walk with me, Lord, down this dark path. Convict my intentions so the sun won't go down on my wrath. I surrender my offender to the spiritual authorities. Anger can exist, but follow sin as the emergency. Therefore, Gary, I choose to forgive while removing the unwanted debris. My sentence is served. I am thankful to be free. So I want to be clear that I'm addressing anger, which is a strong and powerful spirit, but I'm also offering a solution in my book. So when you read my poems, it's dealing with a daily challenge, but within the lines and the stanzas, it's going to offer a solution. In my book, Gary, at the end of each chapter, and this is unique, and I'm with a prominent publishing company who was impressed with the layout. And I know it's beyond me. I know people read this book and they're wondering, how did that come from me? But
a little bit. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
I have in my layout biblical references at the end of each chapter to address those daily challenges, man, just to encourage. So, man, I'm excited about it, man. And I know it's beyond me, Gary. When I read this book, I'm like, wow, sometimes I step back. Where did that come from? And the Lord's hand is just in my life, man. And I'm just grateful.
How long have you been writing the book? I hear that you've been wanting to write a book for a long time. What was when did you actually start writing?
Let me be clear. My followers going to laugh at this. But I come from the hip hop era, Gary. I come from the early 80s on to the 80s. Man, I wanted to be a rapper. As everybody know, I wanted to be LL Cool J and Run DMC. So I always wanted to be an entertainer. I always wanted to impress people. And over the years, I found out that I wasn't going to be a rapper.
Right. Right.
Um, I wasn't going to be a rapper, but my mom, I watched her put the pen to the pad and write her issues out. And I want to be clear before I move forward that my mom have 3 poems in this book, hashtag spiritual selfies. She wrote 3 poems in a book. I watched her write out her pain and her success. So putting together what I wanted to be as far as a hip hop artist and articulate myself in front of crowds, watching my mother put the pen to the pad, it inspired me to write poetry.
Okay.
And in that process, man, I guess about 3 to 5 years ago, and writing them out, I said, man, this stuff's starting to get good.
Yeah.
And then I started allowing people to read it, and it met them right where they were. So I said, okay, this is beyond me now. And then going through my own issues,
Mm.
because it's a lot of blood in that pencil of what
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So
therapeutic.
absolutely. So over 3 to 5 years, man, packaging that, then coming up with the concept that's relatable to our generation, taking selfies and putting a poem there. Again, it's harmonizing, it's entertaining, it's crafty. It'll cut you up and hold yourself accountable. Then it offers a solution. Gary, I'm inspired. I believe the scripture that said all things are possible, that this book should be a bestseller. And
It will
it's
be. It will be.
and I'm praying on it, brother.
It
I'm
will
praying on
be. We're gonna call it into existence now.
it. Man, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, I know that with what you were writing, that you had to be going through a lot of emotional uh, ups and downs. I mean, I just can recall writing my book, and there were things I had held for years I had forgotten about. I was crying, and I
Mhm.
had all types of emotions. So, what were some of the emotions that you went through in writing this great piece of work?
Well, we started off talking about man and men being men and manhood. And I didn't understand how my wife was responding to me early in the marriage. It made me feel inferior, and I still had to respond to it. And I don't come from a background of watching my father put his hands on my mother or other um, ways of dealing with pain as a man or dealing with these challenges, especially in my marriage. So marriage was a big challenge for me at the beginning, and I had to man up, man. I had to man up. That was probably one of the things that checked me, Gary, because before I was married, my lifestyle I had in my way. I had in my way. Now I'm married. It ain't like that. We don't care who you are, what you did, or this, that, and the other. I need you to be a father and a husband and be responsible. I couldn't play the same games in my marriage. And it was a challenge, man. It was, man, faced a lot of humility in my marriage. My marriage grew me up, man. And
Mm.
then as a young father, as we speak, it's a lot of tension between myself and my son. A lot of animosity there because I was ripping and running, Gary. So a lot of times I wasn't where I was supposed to be as a father with my son early on. Again, I was a youngin having a son, and that's the challenge I put in front of me, and still even dealing with that, man. So it's not done with. I'm still dealing with
Right.
those emotions of being a father, of being a husband, and then um, also my calling, struggling with what I wanted to be. I wanted I wanted to do what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. But I have a special calling in my life, man. People need me. I want to just shut myself in a room, go to my cubicle and mind my business and not deal with people. But I have a bigger calling, and I understand that now. And this brother like you, that's pulling this out of me to share with the world what men go through, especially black men. That's another thing. Our brothers watching what they're going through, and I know that I didn't have to go through what they've gone through. I need to be there to hug them. I need to be there to support them. I see them every day in school, man. And so a lot of the pain, a lot of the challenges come from all those things, man. So I'm just excited for this platform,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you giving me the platform, and it's a connections. The name of your show was Connections, and that's what we're doing, Gary. You going to help me, I'm going to help you. And Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
I need you just as much as you need me. We can't do this alone, man.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I like you, brother, to kind of reflect and, if you will, share, because there's somebody right now that's listening, who is. I'm assuming you had your son around. Something you had around 18ish or so.
18,
Okay.
18. I have my son. Hmm.
So I'm gonna say that there's probably some 17-year-old right now, right? Who
Mm,
who's loving life, who's doing what they do, who's seeing the sisters and doing
wow.
what they do. What would you say right now? Because a lot of times too, I'm a fraternity man, right? And
Hmm.
I know you play football,
Hmm.
uh, and we will have these discussions, right, about what manhood is, and how many notches under the belt and all that stuff. Uh,
Hmm.
we give accolades even as adults, right? I got fraternity brothers who are older and still living and talking like they were still adolescents.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would you say to that 17-year-old young man today
Mhm,
about the responsibilities of
mhm.
sex?
Wow, the responsibility of sex. I want to be very clear with you that at the time, at an early age of 18, having my son, again, it was momentary pleasure. At that moment, it was momentary pleasure. I didn't know 31 years later that I'm still dealing with the repercussions of making that choice, of my son having an imbalance in his and watching his father. He needed his father. He needed someone that was responsible. And at that early age of 18, I was too immature to father him the way he deserved to be fathered. So to this day, 31 years later, we're still dealing with that dynamic, trying to mend something that was not right back then. Now, my son is a blessing.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
from him, I've even received four other blessings in his children. So I still have an opportunity. I may not be able to father him as if he was younger, but I'm able to father his children as if they're mine. And for me, the Lord to give me another chance to kind of do it the way it could have been done back
Hmm.
then. I also would say that living a lifestyle at an early age will retard you when it comes to normalcy. See,
Hmm.
when I'm
Say that
always
again. Say that again. Say that again.
at an early age, certain behaviors and activities will
Mm.
retard you when it comes to normalcy later on in life. That's why we struggle later on in life with dealing with marriage, with dealing with family, because we always paraded around getting what we want when we want it, in particular sex, in particular drugs, in particular alcohol, and abusing those things. And then when we later on in life, we end up struggling. So again, I mentioned my marriage. My thoughts of marriage, I wasn't able to withstand it early because my way of thinking was retarded. I
Mm.
my wife need to give me what I want right now because I want it. I see you, I want you right now. I'm not considering nothing else because that's the way it was when I was before I was married or when I was younger. But it doesn't work like that. Those are behaviors that will not withstand in a marriage. And then you have parenting at a young age. I'm out running around playing ball, going to parties, having parties where my son needed me to be at his PTA meeting.
Right.
He needed me doing those things. And I'm out here being jiggy with it, running around the community, doing what I'm not supposed to do. So we say reap the benefits. I'm reaping a lot of um, pain from the choices I made 31 years ago and many years ago. I'm still dealing with those issues now. where you can have a clean slate and do it the right way with integrity. And like you said, Gary, we all failed. We all did our thing. And I'm just happy. I'm here to share testimony on your platform about what I went through, so another 18-year-old won't fail like I did. Make it easier on yourself. One more thing, Gary. For example, having my son and his mother, him receiving lessons from two different homes, two different views, two different ways of looking at life. And I believe that the Lord has it where you have two parents in the same household singing the same song, holding each other accountable. When you out here having sex, when you out here doing things with all these girls, you're jeopardizing that positive development because you have two different homes raising a child. That's when you get this whole effect of baby mother, baby father, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not healthy. And so I'm just grateful, man, that I, had the opportunity to share this testimony.
Yeah, man. It sounds like the book is illuminating a lot of things from both perspectives, from the perspective of let me shine a light on the flaws, as well as kind of giving some more testimony on things you kind of figured out that worked.
Right. I didn't want to go in saying that it's all good, because that's what the external selfies does. We're taking pictures of our best moments with selfies. People don't see me when I get home and I'm acting. What we really are is who we are when no one's around.
Right.
So that's the character that I wanted to address and get better with, man.
Right.
I'm trying to find this poem now, talking about feelings and different things like that. Again, hashtag spiritual selfies. You can get it right now on Barnes and Nobles online. You can get it on Amazon right now if you go online. Man, I didn't say this, parents' divorce. I sat down with a coworker of mine and she shared with me she had no voice in her parents' divorce. I'm like, wow. So we sat down and talked about it, and I wrote down the details and I asked her, can I share this as a poem? And that's where that derived from, man. Just deep things in here that will blow your mind, man. Here you go, right here, Gary. I'm gonna read this. Do we have time, brother?
Yes, we do.
This is called Fooled by Feelings, and many of us are fooled by feelings. Listen to this here. Feelings may last for a moment, whether happy or sad, mad or glad, busy or lonely. Every emotional event can suddenly rearrange. The highs and lows remind me feelings change. I must examine where my feelings come from, resisting to apply past emotions to what's presently done, preventing relationships and commitments from becoming inconsistent. Knowingly, love and obedience are not feelings, but a prayerful decision. Aware that discernment is beyond desires or simply wanting something. If it surpasses my Lord and time, I can't trust it. Feelings should not distract or supersede faith, whether it's a job, material item, goal, or mate. My involvement must have standards and boundaries. The criteria must be deeper than circumstances around me. My trust and dependency must be secured in the Lord. Only He can fix, sustain, repair, and afford. We can't be fooled by our feelings, man. Man, for many years, I went by my feelings, getting that pleasure for the moment. And that goes with financially. That goes not just with being irresponsible sexually, the feeling that doing drugs that may give you for the moment. I can't be fooled by how I feel at that moment. I need something deeper to rely on. And I'm just thankful that the Lord is working in my life, and my faith is overshadowing the issues that I have, man. So I'm just grateful, Gary. I'm so grateful.
Man. Yeah. How well has the book been received by like churches and just different communities like that? It seems like this would be a great book.
Man, it's been
for schools.
Listen, I'm gonna be real with you, Gary. first of all, usually your family and friends, they're not usually the first supporters. They'll be the last to support you. I must be upfront now. My family and friends came through, and not just to support me, but I think they saw something deeper that they needed in the book and holding themselves um, accountable. Locally, the book has been doing excellent, whether online or book signings at different places. The book has been doing really well. My issue is not to stop there, though, Gary. I want to make this world, when you said internet interview, that was my mindset, not to just get it to the Northwood area or the Morgan State area. My community came through for me. I want to get it out to the masses right now and provide this spiritual wealth that we all need. We need it. I need it. I need to be encouraged on a daily. I have a 16-year-old Gary. I have bills, Gary. I need encouragement on a daily basis. And I think there's so many people out there that are like-minded that need the same thing.
Lost you for a second there, Glenny.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay.
But yeah, you said you want to take this book bigger than just locally, bigger than just share again
Yeah,
with that.
I just want my whole. I thought that I would sell. I had a small way of preparing for this. I thought that I maybe sell 50 the first month, maybe even 50 more the second month. Man, it's been beyond that. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to my pastor said to us, if you have faith, finish it. Finish it. And I'm going to finish it. I'm going to keep moving. I was sharing with a lawyer the other day. We were meeting, and I said, my book is going to become a bestseller. He just looked at me with a puzzled look. Well, it may do this, it may do that. Nah, nah, my faith is bigger than that, man. And so I want to take it worldwide. I've been getting phone calls, man. Nothing really has manifested yet, but I've been getting phone calls from Japan, from Chicago, different places that want to take the book on in different cities and countries. So
Mhm.
I'm just praying that those things come through. You got to be careful with some things, but I'm just praying that some of those things come, because that's my prayer, to take it worldwide.
Yes, indeed.
And
Indeed.
I just thank you for this outlet, man. And let's spread the word about the book. And again, you guys can get it online. Hashtag spiritual selfies.
Yep, yep. So now, so tell them all the different words. Oh, well, so we know we can get the actual book. Is it also on audio, or can they? How the different ways can they get the book?
It's not on audio just yet, in other languages just yet, and that's my prayer too, Gary. That that'll come about. But right now, it's available on Amazon, which is 5 stars as we speak. Barnes and Nobles online, and they can get it on iTunes. All the major outlets online they could get the book from. And also, again, right now. I'm just traveling locally, but within this year, man, I expect to be out of here, man, doing some other great things, man.
All right, all right. Yeah, yeah, brother. Man, well, much success to you on the book and everything else. We're so glad to have you on the show, man, and just having you share your inspirational stories and many of the just the things, being so transparent with your upbringing and your spouse and your son, man. That I appreciate that, and I'm sure you have made a connection with someone that's listening right now and inspired them that they continue to work on themselves, can correct and sometimes even avoid making certain errors. So we appreciate you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing.
Let's do it again, Gary, real soon.
All right, all right. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. This is Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star. You've been tuned into Connection. Please follow Glenny Moore and check him out. Get the book. Again, Spiritual Selfies,
Mhm.
Snapshot from the Inside Out. Get it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and iTunes. Until next week, folks, keep moving forward.